Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Tanchjim Ola, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank HifiGo for providing the Tanchjim Ola for review. Do greatly appreciate it. HifiGo, you rock. Alright, so the Tanchjim Ola, this is a $40 IEM available on HifiGo. It has a 10mm DMT4 dynamic driver, has impedance of 16 ohms, sensitivity of 126 decibels, a frequency response of 7 Hz to 45 kilohertz. And it is tuned with the HRTF curve, or the head-related transfer function curve. Now this curve, it increases and elevates 2K to 5K, and this is to add in imaging and details and to ensure realistic effects, percussions, and naturalism. This IEM is tuned for professionals for a balanced sound. The box, pretty straightforward, but very nice. So you take off the sleeve, you get another box with a little bit of Tanchjim branding. And then on the inside, you get this interesting little sleeve type box that includes warranty paperwork and some accessories. You get your IEMs, and then you get your cable. You get this little carrying bag that says Tanchjim on it, extremely hard to see on camera. And then you also get these little carrying things for tips. And you get two different types of tips. Both are silicone. You get these treble enhancing tips, which are wide bore, extremely small, and extremely thin. And then you get these other ones that are more the olive shape or grape shape, and they're more narrow bored, and these are for bass enhancement. I didn't use either one of them. Why? Because neither one of them fit me. I could not get a good seal. I could not get a good fit with any of the stock tips. They just didn't fit my ears. The Olas were constantly falling out. They just didn't sound proper, and I knew I wasn't getting a good seal. And everything about the Ola just wasn't pleasant when I had those tips in. They might work for you. They did not work for me. As far as tips that I did use, I used the CTM Flexi tip. And I find that it's a little bit bigger, a little bit more firm, and just sealed into my ear a lot better. It was a lot more snug, and the Ola didn't feel like it was about to fall out. I did try all sorts of tips with the Ola. I tried anything from triple flange, dual flange, all the way to wide bore JVC spiral dots, and everything else in between. I tried all sorts of tips, and I finally settled on the CTM Flexi tip. Overall, the build of the Ola is nice. It's got this aluminous alloy on the outside, and then on the inside you have some plastic, and it's got a nice angle to it. They're very small, extremely light. Ear hooks that are connected with 2 pins are well controlled. It does have an inline microphone. I found that the inline microphone of this cable does not affect sonics as like some of the inline microphone cables can. Comfort wise, I find that they're very comfortable. Once you get a tip to fit, I find that they are just small, light, and just disappear in the ears, and I had no problems wearing them for hours on end. How do they sound? Now, Tanchjim claims that these are tuned for professionals with a balanced sound. First, let's talk about what sources I used. I used it with everything. I went from dongles to DAPs to desktop. The Ola is very easy to drive. It's not picky whatsoever in regards to what source is driving it. I find that it sounded a little bit better off of dongles, mainly because That's what I preferred it to be as far as use case. It's a very portable in-ear, and I used it mostly with dongles, but I did try it with everything else, and it worked just fine. So it's not going to be picky in that regard. How do they sound? Let's talk about the bass. The bass of the Tanchjim Ola. What bass? These are one of the most anemic sounding bass IEMs I've ever heard. There is literally very, very, very little bass. The bass is there, but it is so thin, so lightweight. I'm pretty sure that a gust of wind could just blow the bass away from the Ola. These things are anemic at bass. It has decent tonality in the bass when it's available, when it's present, when it decides to show up. But that's very limited, and it's sub bass. Yeah, it doesn't even exist. Mid bass is slightly there, but you don't even really you get like a little tap. You don't get that visceral punch. You don't get good slam. The bass is it's just not present. I'm not a bass head, and I don't clamor for more bass very often. But when I'm listening to an Ola, I want more bass. Even listening on the Hifi Zen, I wanted to use the bass boost, and then again, it was still like, can I have a little more? It's just not there. Details are all right. Resolution's all right. Tone's all right. Timbre, Mids. Well, the mids definitely don't get any bleed from the bass. The mids are way more elevated and more forward than the bass is. And they're still lacking in body. They're still lacking in just overall note weight. There's just not a lot to it. They're very airy and very lightweight. And I'm pretty sure, again, that a gust of wind could come by and just blow the mids away. They're just very light. They just... Tonality is all right. It's not bad. Timbre, Detail retrieval, it's all right. Resolution, it's okay. Upper mids, very much in your face. They are very, very, very forward. 2K onward, they're definitely present, and they will give you some sibilance. They'll give you some sharpness. They give you but they're right there in your face, very prominent. Treble, lower treble, very much prominent in your face. It's going to give you some hotness. It's going to give you some sharpness and edginess. It's got a lot of crispness, a lot of energy. In fact, too much. The treble tails off a little bit and then rises again in the upper treble regions, and it gets a little bit on the harsh side. Tonality's fine. Timbre again, Detail retrieval's okay. Resolution, professional tuning, no. There's no note weight. It's just very, and it's just it just lacks that natural, realistic note weight density to it. It lacks body. And overall, the timbre is just a little off. It just doesn't, it's really hard to differentiate between instruments. It clumps things in. So woodwinds sound like a woodwind. You can't tell if it's a clarinet or a saxophone or an oboe. You can't, strings sound like a string. You can't tell if it's a violin, a viola. Basses and guitars sound very similar. You can't really differentiate between it. Brass instruments sound very similar. It's really hard to differentiate unless they do like a slide on a trombone, but it's really hard to tell differences between horns and trumpets and trombones and things like that. And percussions all kind of sound the same. It's just really, it's not the greatest timbre. tonality wise, they're okay. And I would not use these as monitors. You're going to be force fed everything from upper, mids, and treble. It's just all right there. And that's all you get is upper, mids, and treble. Soundstage wise, they're okay. They're not the widest. They're not the narrowest. They're just kind of like, They do lean at times a little bit intimate. Depth is, it's okay. And imaging is good, actually. It does a good job with moving things across the stage. It does okay with detail retrieval. As I said, it's not the best detail retrieval. It's not the best resolving, but they're all right. And does it add in clear imaging and details, ensuring realistic effects and percussion and naturalism? Not really. It's too enhanced, too elevated to be accurate, in my opinion. The Ola is just all about the technicalities, and it doesn't do the technicalities very well. Overall, I find that it has met tonality, it's very bass light, has thin note weight, and it's a somewhat intimate soundstage. It's okay on technicalities, clarity, imaging, instrument separation is alright, detail retrieval is decent for the price point, and the resolution is How's it compare to the TINHIFI T2? The TINHIFI T2 clearly destroys the Ola in every single way. It's better with detail retrieval, better with resolution, and it has more accurate note weight, more density to the overall presentation, actually has more bass than the Ola, and it extends better both bass and into treble. It has more airy presentation. It's a little bit more accurate and true, and I would use it as a monitor versus the Ola. I would not. The T2 definitely has a more natural and true tone and timbre. How does it compare to the Massdrop SSR? Massdrop SSR also cleans the floor with the Ola. The SSR has more note weight, more density, has better accurate true tone and timbre, also does better with detail retrieval, resolution, and also has a better soundstage with depth and layering, and the SSR has more bass than the Ola. Tanchjim Ola. Professional tuning for balanced sound. No. Not at all. $40. If you only like mids and treble, give them a try. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links and notification bells. If you haven't already, check those off. And then don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. And check out the links down below for all kinds of information regarding how you can contact the channel, follow the channel, support the channel, all kinds of other things down there, like gear lists and music recommendations and all kinds of other things. So check out the links down below. This has been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Don't forget that you need to enjoy the music, and honesty is the best policy.